Algebra, we are moving on to the Day 7 notes in your Unit 10 packet. If you do not have your Unit 10 packet, the Unit 10 materials can be found on Canvas, or you can just do this on your own paper. It is your choice. We are going to be reviewing factoring. And so we've been doing some that just require factoring and some that require solve by factoring. All right, these ones for 1 and 2, you'll notice the directions say to solve each of the following using zero product property. These problems you'll notice are already factored. We don't need to factor these because it's already in factored form. With these, all we have to do is go straight to the solving. When we do ZPP, zero product property, you set each piece equal to 0. So you're going to set 2x minus 5 equal to 0 and x minus 3 equal to 0. For this one, you're going to add 5 and then divide by 2. So x equals 5 halves. The other one, get rid of the minus 3 by adding it, and you're going to get x equals 3. All right, if you plug those in, you should get 0 for your answer. So you can always double check it. And then same goes with number 2. Just set each of those pieces equal to 0. I'm not going to finish it, but you would just do 8x plus 2 equals 0 and x plus 5 equals 0. Solve and you'll be all set. Let's get to these ones. These ones you'll notice just say factor. You'll notice there's no equal sign, there's no number, there's nothing after the x squared minus 10x plus 16. There's no equal sign, it doesn't say solve, so all you're going to do is factor. We are not going to end up with answers like x equals a number. With these ones, all you have to do is make sure it's in descending order, and you're going to do your box problem. All right, and that's about it. Box problem to factor. All right, so for these ones, this problem in particular, number 3 here, it's got to multiply to be the last number, so multiply to be 16, and add to be the middle number, which is negative 10. So you got to think about all the numbers that multiply to be 16. Because it's got to add to be a negative, we got to come up with some negative numbers that multiply to be 16. So like negative 4 and negative 4, those would multiply to be a positive and add to be a negative. Negative 16 and negative 1. Negative 8 and negative 2. All right, the one that's going to end up making it add up to negative 10 is negative 8 and negative 2. You make your two sets of parentheses, put your x at the beginning of both. Since it's a negative 8, you put a minus 8, negative 2, you put a minus 2. And this will be your answer. Don't go any further. Do not solve these ones. It doesn't say to solve. There's no equal sign, so that's all you're going to do. For number 2, same thing. We're going to do our box problem. It's got to multiply to be the last number, add to be the middle. So think about all the numbers that multiply to be 42. Those two numbers that are going to add to be 13 are 6 and 7. 6 times 7 is 42. 6 plus 7 is 13. You make your two sets of parentheses. X goes in the beginning of both. Since they're both positive, it's going to be a plus 6 and a plus 7. It doesn't matter which parenthesis the 6 goes in and which parenthesis the 7 goes in. For number 3, same idea. We're going to just factor it. It's got to multiply to be the last number. Notice it's a negative 11. Add to be the middle number, which is negative 10. So think about all the numbers that multiply to be negative 11. All right, not too many. It's either negative 1 and 11 or 1 and negative 11. The two numbers that are going to add up to be negative 10 are 1 and negative 11. So you put your two sets of parentheses down, x at the beginning of both. Since it's positive 1, you put a plus 1. Negative 11, you put a minus 11. And that's it. If you want to check any of your answers, you can multiply these out. Remember a long time ago we did these problems with the box or distribute. If you distribute and multiply this together, you should end up back with the original. So you can always double check your answers. Then we had some like number 4. Notice there's no x to the first. If there's no x to the first, you can always put a plus 0x in the middle there so that it's still in descending order and we have a 0 in front of the x. It's got to multiply to be the last, negative 25, and add to be the middle, 0. So think about all the numbers that multiply to be negative 25. Those two numbers that are going to add up to be 0, though, are negative 5 and 5. Negative 5 times 5 is negative 25. Negative 5 plus 5 is 0. All right, if you don't know what multiplies to be certain numbers, use your calculator. If it's even, it's divisible by 2. If it ends in a 5, it's divisible by at least 5, maybe 10. Things like that. So then we have to make our two sets of parentheses. X goes in the front of both. Since we have a -5, we put a -5, and a +5, you put +5. All right, and there's your answer. We're going to skip 5 and 6 for a second. Let's go down to 7. For number 7, same thing. We're going to see what multiplies to be the last number, 24, and add to be the middle number. Notice it's a -11. So think about all the numbers multiplied by 24, but since it's got to add up to be a negative, we're going to have to use negatives. So like -6 and -4. That would give me a multiply to be a positive and add to be a negative number, but it doesn't add to be -11. Let's see, -8, -3. That's going to add to be -11 and multiply to be 24. Since it's -8 and -3, put an X at the beginning of both. -8, you put a -8 in one of the parentheses and a -3 in the other one. All right, so that's kind of a review of that. What I'd like you to do is to try number 5, number 6, number 8, and number 9. So try all 4 of those. Go ahead and pause the video, do them, and then resume the video to see how you do. Okay, go ahead. All right, so let's see how you did. With number 5, it's got to multiply by 36, add to be -12. Those two numbers are going to be -6 and -6. So you could put x minus 6 times x minus 6, or if you wanted to, you could put x minus 6 quantity squared, since there's two of them being multiplied together. Either answer is totally fine. For number 6, you have to multiply to be -63, add to be -2. Those two numbers are going to be -9 and 7, and so it's x minus 9 times x plus 7. This one, number 8, it's got to multiply to be 24, add to be 10. Those two numbers are going to be 6 and 4, so you do x plus 6 times x plus 4. The last one, it's got a x missing, so you're going to put x squared plus 0x minus 64. It's got to multiply to be -64, add to be 0. Those two numbers are going to be 8 and -8, so it's x plus 8 times x minus 8. All right, so that's kind of a quick little review of just factoring. Now we're going to go to the back, and we're going to do some factor and then solve using zero product property. Notice the key word here. It says to solve. All right, since we are going to be solving, that means that we're going to be doing our zero product property. We're going to eventually be setting things equal to 0 and getting an answer of like x equals this or x equals that. So the steps for when you see solve in the directions, you're going to make sure that it's equal to 0. Right? And then the second step is you're going to factor with your box problem. All right. And then you're going to do zero product property, ZPP, and solve. All right, so that's the main difference between this and this. Okay, let me pause my sound here because it's loud. Okay. So let's look at number 13. Notice it's already equal to 0. Check. Factor with a box problem. Okay, so it's got to multiply to be the last number, 40, and add to be the middle number. And again, make sure it's in descending order so that you have the right numbers. It's got to multiply to be 40, add to be 13. So like 8 times 5, 4 times 10. The numbers that are going to add up to 13, though, are 8 and 5. So we're going to make two sets of parentheses. This time it's equal to 0. X goes in the front of both. It's a +8, so +8, and a +5, so +5. Then you're going to do the last step, ZPP, set it equal to 0 and solve. So you're going to set x plus 8 equal to 0, and you're going to set x plus 5 equal to 0. Solve for x in both cases. So this one you're going to -8 from both sides, you get -8. And this one you subtract 5 from both sides and you get -5. All right. Number 14 is not equal to 0, so it's right now equal to -20. So we're going to move it by adding 20 onto both sides. And you're going to get x squared minus 12x plus 20. Keep it in descending order. Now we can do our box problem. It's got to multiply to be 20 and add to be -12. So we can do something like, well, it's got to multiply to be a positive, add to be a negative. So we need to use some negative numbers, like -5 and -4, -10 and -2. The two numbers that are going to add up to -12 are -10 and -2. So we're going to do x minus 10 and x minus 2. And then we set the last step, set them equal to 0 and solve. So you're going to set x minus 10 equal to 0 and x minus 2 equal to 0. You're going to add 10 here, giving you x equals 10. And you're going to add 2 here, giving you x equals 2. All right, so that's how that works. Let's look at 15. For number 15, you'll notice it's already equal to 0, so the first step is done. Next step is to do a box problem. Notice we are missing an x, so you can always put plus 0x in the middle there. And so for our box problem, it's got to multiply to be negative 16 and add to be 0. Think about all the numbers that multiply to be negative 16. The two numbers that are going to work that add up to 0 are negative 4 and 4. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. Negative 4 times 4 is negative 16. We make our two sets of parentheses, x in the front of both. Negative 4 means minus 4. Positive 4 means plus 4. And then we're going to set each piece equal to 0. That's our final step, ZPP and solve. So we're going to add 4 to both sides, giving us 4. And we're going to subtract 4 from both sides, giving us negative 4. All right, and that's our answer. So for number 16, I'd like you to try this problem. All right, follow the steps. First thing is make sure it's equal to 0. Notice it's not. Then factor it, and then solve. So go ahead and pause the video and give it a go. So the first step in number 16 is going to be subtract 10x from both sides. What I did was I put it in the middle so that it was in descending order. So x squared minus 10x plus 25 equals 0. Use my box problem. It's got to multiply to be 25 and add to be negative 10. So the two numbers that are going to multiply to be 25 and add to be negative 10 are negative 5 and negative 5. So x minus 5 times x minus 5 equals 0. If you set both of those equal to 0, you'll notice you'll get the same answer. So you don't have to list it twice. You don't have to say x equals 5, x equals 5. It's just once is fine. You're going to get x equals 5 for your answer. And then for the ones on the bottom here, how do you know when to use just ZPP or leave your answer in factored form? All right, what's going to happen is if it says solve in the directions, all right, or there's an equal sign in the problem. Okay, because you'll notice the ones we just did had equal signs in them, and the ones we did at the very beginning did not have equal signs in them. Okay, so if it says solve or there's an equal sign, you're going to need to solve using ZPP. All right, then use the zero product property, what we just did, set things equal to 0. If it just says to factor, all right, if there's no equal sign, if there's no equal sign, it doesn't say the word solve, you're just going to factor. All right, do not set it equal to 0, do not solve. Okay, that's how you can tell the difference. Okay, so for something like number 17, it says find the area of the rectangle with these sides. All that means is area, remember, is length times width. So you're just going to multiply x plus 8 times 2x minus 3. This is old stuff coming back at you. You can distribute, or you can do the box problem like we did a while ago. X plus 8 on this side and 2x minus 3 on this side. X times 2x is 2x squared. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. 8 times 2x is 16x, and 8 times negative 3 is negative 24. And then you can combine the x's. Combine them. Negative 3 plus 16 is 13x, and then we have a minus 24. All right, and then the last problem, find the dimensions of a rectangle with an area. This time it gives you the area. All this means is you're going to factor it. That's it. So you're going to do your little box problem. It's got to multiply to be negative 15 and add to be negative 2. All right, those two numbers that are going to work are negative 5 and 3. Since it's a factoring problem, you use your two sets of parentheses. X goes at the front of both. Negative 5 means minus 5. Positive 3 means plus 3. All right, so that's kind of the difference between the two. Thanks.